Welcome to The Bottom Line Up Front, the podcast that cuts through the noise to deliver distilled insights from today's most important technical webinars, presentations, and demonstrations. Designed for federal and military IT leaders, each episode breaks down complex technologies into mission-ready takeaways so you get the key points fast. Whether it's cybersecurity, cloud architecture, or emerging defense technologies, we highlight what matters most and how trusted integrators like ATP Gov can help implement and operationalize these solutions across your agency or command. No fluff, no filler, just the bottom line up front. Modern adversaries target the hardware and firmware layers below your operating system and beyond EDR. Panasonic's Toughbook Guard now embeds controls at the firmware level to detect and block unauthorized hardware changes before the OS loads, strengthening chain of custody from factory to field. Smart compliance powered by Eclypsium gives leaders agentless air-gapped visibility and firmware assurance across fleets, aligning with CJIS version 6, FISMA, and Section 889 supply chain mandates. Why the physical layer matters. Threats increasingly bypass OS-level controls and live in firmware and device components that most tools don't inspect. Supply chain compromises and hardware implants undermine trust before the device ever boots. Panasonic's defense portfolio is prioritizing mission readiness with rugged devices and integrated security showcased across DoD engagements. So let's talk about what Toughbook Guard actually does. Toughbook Guard operates below the operating system to validate the device's hardware bill of materials, matching component serials to chipsets at boot so unauthorized or swap parts trigger interrupts before the operating system ever loads. If critical integrity checks fail, Toughbook Guard can halt the boot process and present a service workflow that's code and contract to restore an authorized configuration, preserving chain of custody. Toughbook Guard operates offline. There's no dependency on an agent or live network path for core integrity checks at power on. And it's delivered as a perpetual license, designed to be added to your configuration and rolled out across models and as factory support expands. Let's talk about smart compliance. Eclypsium provides component-level inventory, vulnerability management, and tamper detection across laptops, servers, and network gear. It can run air-gapped and integrates with SOC tooling for continuous monitoring. It helps agencies evidence firmware controls against CJIS version 6 priority areas and aligns with NIST 853 and FISMA expectations. More importantly, Eclypsium is designed for zero trust readiness. It validates firmware versions and device integrity so that conditional access can treat endpoints as trusted hardware before software posture is assessed. Marketed as smart compliance within Panasonic's total defense stack alongside of the Toughbook Guard, which is hardware-based, Sentinel-1, their AI EDR, and Absolute for resilience, this creates a complete integration package for the Panasonic product line. Let's talk about the federal and military relevance, the mandates and the milestones. CJIS Security Policy version 6, which came out on December 27th of 2024, elevates supply chain and firmware controls. Audits began as early as October 1st of 2025, with agencies required to meet updated controls by September 30th of 2027. Firmware integrity is now table stakes for public safety fleets. FISMA, on the other hand, requires continuous monitoring and NIST-aligned controls. Firmware security is explicitly within the scope for federal systems and contractors handling federal data. So what does this mean in terms of field realities and sustainment? When considering Panasonic ToughGuard in forward repair scenarios, when RAM and SSD swaps occur in theater, ToughGuard's design requires known good parts to be on the allowed list to preserve integrity. Otherwise, system boot may be interrupted until the change is validated. This adds process discipline so changes are known and accountable. There are exceptions, however, and that comes into play with USB devices. So to avoid operational friction, let's say replacing a mouse, ToughGuard can flag but not block USB changes, still giving IT awareness of port activity without stopping mission work. More importantly, ToughGuard also supports monitoring. Panasonic references a federal-focused monitoring capability for awareness and alerting workflows. So what is the bottom line up front? Panasonic's ToughGuard is a hardware integrity control at the BIOS and firmware level. It's not traditional antivirus or EDR. It's there to prove that the device is the device with the parts that it's supposed to have before the operating system and security stacks start. So some key takeaways. Toughbook Guard validates hardware integrity before the operating system, stopping tampering at boot and strengthening supply chain trust. Smart compliance through Eclypsium delivers agentless firmware vulnerability management and tamper detection across your fleet. All of the ToughGuard controls map to CJIS version 6, FISMA, NIST 853, and NDAA 889 obligations for federal acquisition and operations. Here's a couple of action items you should consider before purchasing something like Panasonic's ToughGuard. First, decide on the scope. Identify units and devices for ToughGuard and smart compliance for fleet-level firmware assurance. Align your compliance. Make sure you map deployments to CJIS version 6 milestones and FISMA for continuous monitoring plans. Be sure to authorize your spares. Build an allow list procedure so that RAM and hard drive swaps are pre-approved and documented for forward repairs. Make sure to integrate with your SOC. Send firmware integrity alerts into SIM and SOAR platforms. Treat hardware integrity as a zero trust prerequisite for endpoint access. And finally, be sure to run tabletop exercises on boot halt scenarios and capture your CJIS and FISMA artifacts ahead of any audits. ATP Gov can help you operationalize this stack: the procurement, imaging, allow list management, and field sustainment, so your devices deploy secure by design from day one. So if you're procuring Panasonic Toughbooks or modernizing endpoint compliance, connect with ATP Gov. We help agencies buy right, image right, whitelist right, and sustain the stack in the field without slowing down missions. Be sure to reach out to ATP Gov today at www.atpgov.com or email info@atpgov.com, or check us out on social media on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to The Bottom Line up front wherever you get your podcasts, and stay tuned for more distilled insights from the front lines of tech and national security. So until next time, stay secure, stay mission ready.